the International Association of Coaching. Home of the coaching masteries.
Thank you, Gigi, and thank you and a very warm welcome to Vadis 2023. We're thrilled to start this flagship program today for all learners and coaches worldwide. I'd like to, first take a moment to thank each and everyone who has made Vadis possible this year. Truly grateful to the commitment, professionalism, and passion of each and every board member, the exco, the committees, so many of them, the volunteers, and the entire support staff who's here, worked round the clock behind the scene to make this happen, curated the sessions, brought in such fantastic panelists. So thank you all. Many of you might be joining in today for the first time and experiencing IAC. So here's a quick guideline to you. We have translations in about 3 other languages: French, Spanish, and Chinese. So, each of you would notice a small little icon that looks like a globe at the bottom of your Zoom panel. Do feel free to choose the language of your choice. And in case any of you wish to seek any additional support, we have a fantastic support team. Reach out to either Juan or Osvaldo privately, and they would be more than happy to help you. I will be keeping a very close watch both on time and the chat, so feel free to share your thoughts, add your questions. It's a 75-minute session, broadly a storyline that dwells into the past, looks at the present, and crafts the future. So we are 20 years old, and we have a very rich story to tell and an inspiring vision that we are crafting together as coaches. And as a part of our celebration, we have these beautiful series over the next 5 days, each in different topics, with some great thought leaders bringing in very diverse perspectives. And let me also remind you to join in day 5, which is our membership town hall. We have some very exciting announcements coming up for our members on that day. Our theme today is enabling possibilities. This is the theme for the Vadis this year. This invites us to dream beyond boundaries. And it's a great honor for us to start this series with 3 thought leaders and past presidents who have steered the ship and helped shape the identity of IAC as we are today. So let me take a moment to first introduce our 3 panelists to you. Give me a moment. Let me just share a slide. So you would hear a little bit of a background music as I speak. It's a very auspicious day today here. It's called Diwali in this part of the world. There's a lot of firecrackers, and it's truly symbolic because the idea of this festival is igniting knowledge, and that's truly the start of Vadis and the intent of Vadis. Let me start with Dr. Barbara Mark. Barbara was a global president 2004 to 2005, a very well-recognized and respected leadership, career, and life strategies coach. She's also an advisor to senior executive women, an area that I'm truly passionate about. She's a founding member of the IAC, recipient of the IAC Presidents Award 2016. Her leadership and vision has played a significant role in shaping IAC's identity. Most importantly, there's a very special reason she's here today. There's a bit of Barbara in each of our hearts. And let me tell you why. The IAC Masteries was born during her presidency. Welcome to the panel, Barbara. It's very early in the morning for you. It's such a pleasure to see you, to talk to you, and we are honored to have you with us. Would like to just invite you to share, what do you feel today? What is the experience of being here with us today?
My heart wells with excitement and the grace of being with a group of people who have kept the IAC journey going, who have held the vision. It excites me to recognize that we're now celebrating a 20-year anniversary of the vision. And I look forward to another 20 years in having a celebration.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm going to circle back to you because there is a lot of wisdom we're going to tap into in today's conversation. Let me introduce our second panelist, Krishna Kumar. He's the founder director of Intrad School of Executive Coaching. Krishna is a leadership and executive coach. He has done many, many hats. He's an entrepreneur, a B school professor, an independent board member, a sports coach. In fact, he's recently awarded and been recognized for his work in professional tennis. And I'm sure you could touch upon a little on that, Krishna, because I do understand this journey where there's a lot that you draw from this game, and which is the wisdom that you've shared with many of the coaches. For me personally, Krishna has been the first touch point for IAC. And I was drawn to the clarity of vision and passion for IAC. And it might even interest you to know that this Vadis series was born during Krishna's time as a president. Over to you, Krishna. It's been a long time. How does it feel to be here today?
It's difficult to find the words. Barbara said, I look at the screen and I see so many familiar faces, many of whom have been part of this journey with me. We've been comrades, we've been partners, we've been adventurers in keeping this wonderful organization going. And what's the nicest thing about the IAC for me in the past, present, and I know going forward would be the ties that bind us.
Yeah.
It's very rare that we come across an organization, a professional organization that transcends the professional and makes individuals feel that they belong as families, actually. So more on that perhaps when we speak. So I'm delighted to be here again. Thank you.
So beautifully said, Krishna. Thank you so much. And yes, would love to hear a little more as we unpack that era. Moving to our third panelist, Dr. Shan Murthy. I think nearly all of us have worked with, closely interacted, has been really, truly an inspiring brand ambassador for IAC. Shan is an international trainer, facilitator, executive coach. He's the author of Coaching with Respect and Coaching and the 5 A's, a book I think I've had the privilege to being there when it was being launched in Malaysia. What stands out for me, having worked so closely with Shan, is the generosity in his heart and his yes can attitude. I think these are two words we've seen and heard so many times. I've seen the immense contribution he's made to societies and communities through coaching interventions. And that's truly been quite inspirational. And we were delighted that Shan and Bonnie joined in this efforts that IAC launched this year in the area of coaching in education, which is aligned to SDG 4. I think more on that as we go along. Shan, what can I say? Do share a few words. How does it feel?
Feels back, coming back for holiday from work back home and to meet the family, and it's been amazing. And I think that I always call Krishna the transformer, who from day one when he pulled me into Bog and his vision, and I think we did not change. We were, there was continuity at every point, and I just feel great to have senior presidents here, Barbara, and I've not met and interacted with Barbara, but it's a pleasure, it's an honor to be amongst these great individuals, Barbara and Krishna Kumar.
Thank you, Shan. Thank you so much. And I'm so looking forward to this kind of conversation, unpacking so much for us for today and for the future coaches. Today's session, and this is for all of you who are joining in now, we are trying to bring 3 timelines together. The story of IAC is so closely interweaved with the story of coaching as a profession. So we'll definitely reflect on the past, explore a bit around the present, and invite possibilities about the future. Would also love to, given the time, tap into this collective wisdom in this room, something that we've been doing throughout all our interactions. So for all those who are very new to the IAC journey, as you would read and you would get to know a little about this history, IAC was founded by Thomas Leonard, founder of modern coaching profession, who envisioned a certification body that honored coaching skills that people acquired through their life experiences and professional roles and training. So a team of inspired, dedicated, and experienced coaches germinated this philosophy to create IAC as this independent coach certification body. While unfortunately we lost him too early, we had a series of inspiring leaders and coaches who built this dream further. And as Barbara says, this journey continues. That brings me to you, Barbara, first. One of the most significant milestones for IAC came under your visionary leadership. In my last interaction with you, I think I've shared personally the sense of courage and inspiration that each one of us feels as we take this path. Do take us back into that time that led to this really powerful and courageous vision of creating IP, by way of the masteries that could be embraced across geographies and across cultures. Over to you, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you. It was such an interesting time and a difficult time. Thomas Leonard's death came at a time that was, pretty important in terms of the creation of the IAC as an independent body. And because of his death, there was confusion, there was a lot of grieving that happened. And so there were different ideas about what Thomas wanted and didn't want and how he wanted to see the vision carried forward. I was a relatively new kid on the block. So I wasn't, nor did I wish to be, on the inside track of what Thomas Leonard wanted. What I wanted was to take this organization from its moment into the future. There was some confusion, again, about who owned the intellectual property of the IAC. And Coachville, of course, was the body that had developed the certification process, had developed the proficiencies. And it wasn't going to work for the IAC to be an independent organization if we were going to be an organization that effectively was an arm of Coachville. So Mr. David Buck, who was the head of Coachville, a very close friend of Thomas's, I invited him to a meeting and I talked with him about the vision I had of seeing the IAC as an independent organization. And I said that we were interested in developing our own certification proficiencies. And at that point, he said, "Who will care?" And I took that lightly, and accepted his thoughts about that, because Coachville was well established. And I said, "Well, here's my proposition to you, David. I would like to create a contract with you and lease or borrow, if you will, the Coachville certification process until we develop our own proficiencies. And then I would like at that point in time to have a handshake distance between ourselves and Coachville." And Dave said, "Sure, go ahead and do that. I'll license it to you for $1 a year." And I said, "Okay, that's great. Thank you kindly." And at which point I went back to my group and said, "Oh, this is what we're going to be doing." And everyone else said, "Oh, okay, well, I guess this is what we're going to be doing." And there were some absolutely amazing, wonderful people who participated in this project. And again, it was at this point that I said, look, really, it's an international organization. And so anything that we create in terms of a certification process has to reflect all of the values of our international community. We have to be able to determine what does good coaching look like in Japan? What does good coaching look like in Indonesia? What does good coaching look like in Germany? What does good coaching look like in India? And melt that into a really delicious, tasty stew that would be satisfactory to each of these cultures. And the people worked on this day and night for a considerable period of time. International calls where people were, like myself, being present at 5:30 in the morning, wherever they were, where their 5:30 in the morning was, or 2:30 in the morning, or 9:30 at night. And the certification process was born. And the IAC became, at that point, an independent organization.
Thanks, Barbara. And I think, that begins the new journey for IAC. In fact, it's very interesting. Over the last 2 to 3 years, we've been doing a lot of surveys, catching up with members. I've been doing a lot of one-on-one discussions, and I think each one of us in the board are, including the chapter interventions. One consistent thread has been how much the IAC masteries connect with them and resonate with them, not just professionally as coaches, but there are so many beautiful stories around how it has shaped the way in terms of who they are in their personal lives. And this talks volumes about, how this has changed the DNA of coaching profession to a large extent. So, Barbara, would love to come back to you. I think there are many a zillion questions that each one of us will have, and I'm sure we'll circle back. Let me fill this gap between 2006 to 2016, when Krishna led the team. There have been presidents and leaders during that time, and just to fill that gap in the storyline, the slogan that IAC has, expanding the path to mastery, perhaps captures the spirit of work that was happening in that phase. A lot of deliberation, conversations, and due diligence in terms of the certification process, the evaluation process, competency building, were there was a lot of internal focus on these processes and practices to create and maintain the integrity and excellence of the masteries across cultures. So the evaluation process definitely went through multiple iterations. And then also during that time is when the world was changing. The world was opening up. We were far more digitally connected, unlike what Barbara was sharing, a lot of phone calls. There were a lot of newer tools for us to collaborate, newer emerging technologies, and perhaps a little more awareness around the profession of coaching. And 2016, Krishna, you stepped in to take the story ahead, inviting you to share a bit about that journey with us as we craft the story together.
I was listening to Barbara. I was almost thinking she will say once upon a time. Because listening to you again, Barbara, was like going back in time for me, because almost the very first thing I did when I took over as president, Shan knows this quite well, was wanting to go back to our roots. And there was, in my mind, there was that need that came up, because I had this kind of feeling that we had drifted a bit from the path. And it's always good to go back to the roots and see, are we going the right way? And it was not so much about a process or anything. It was really to do with the philosophy. I never knew Thomas Leonard. I'd heard so much about him. So I went back to people like Coop and Barbara and Des and all the stalwarts who made us what we were. And Shan, you're very generous when you call me a transformer. I haven't done anything of that sort. But anyway, what I basically did was get back to try to get a handle on where we originated. And I would say that any organization goes through cycles. And there's this infancy cycle that Barbara steered us through admirably. Not just steered us through difficult times, but she did that huge jump where we got IP that we still, hold close to us. But when it was my turn, some of you were there. So, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, particularly Shan and Martha and, the others who are not present perhaps here. But it was a challenging time, not so much in terms of the concept of the IAC, but in terms of other challenges we faced as an organization. I mean, basically, we were going through a very rough patch in terms of running it financially and otherwise. And I mean, it's probably not appropriate for me to get into the nitty-gritty of it. But basically, all we needed to do was get back on track. And so we did take a few tough calls, had to be made, like always. But the more important thing was we managed to steer us through in the first year that I was given the charge. And the second year that I was running it, my vision was really to do something else. And we were looking at what next. Now that we've got the ship back on track, let's see which direction you want to steer it to, because we've been moving in a certain way. Are there other directions that seem more interesting, more attractive? The good news was, as you said, Anjali, that we were digital, fully digital. Yeah, we had a bit of a process problems of websites and stuff, but the more important thing was everything was virtual. And I think that stood us in great stead later during the pandemic and so on. I know Shan was the one who steered through that. And I won't take away your glory there, Shan, except to say that it was fortunate for us that we were probably way ahead of the curve in being a digital organization. So that was the good part. So what could we do in the second part that I was, leading this wonderful team? And had 11, 12, 13 different nationalities, not just focused in one place. And I would say a lot of what we are today began particular webinar going in 4 languages, perhaps one day in many more. I think those are the transition points. The co-Vadis, the number of languages that we launched the voice in, the branding that we did on social media. I know Carla is on the call somewhere. I mean, she was terrific at that. There were so many people that I want to call out to, but I can't today. I mean, many people stood there and got that transition through. Like in the time that Barbara faced, and she said, all these late night calls here, when you run a not-for-profit, volunteer-led body, all that drives us is passion and purpose. And that will resonate with Shan, his 2 favorite words. See, so that is really what drove us to where we are today. And I'll stop with that now and probably hand it back to you, Anjali, to continue the journey.
Thank you, Krishna. Truly, and I think a lot that we are going to share about what we are doing today, you would see these connections, and that's the joy of this journey. You know, we are deepening what happened, and we are widening across at each stage. So let me take the story ahead. And Krishna, you did bring up the digitization and the world getting more connected, and I think that's where the next phase started. Pepe Del Rio was the president, and that's an era that I'm very familiar with because I joined in, and I think many of us have worked closely. So from the infancy, I think somewhere gearing up to the next stage had started opening up. There was a lot more automation. Many of you who are a part of the BOG would know this is the time we started thinking on how do you make this simpler, faster, and more convenient for members, and creating touch points with, you know, embracing technology. So, but then came the era, 2020, where a virus shuts down the world, altering the pace and nature of our lives and exposing the fragility of our lives, perhaps also nudging us to make decisions that are bold. Shan, you stepped in during the struggle of human emotions and perhaps what we call existential crisis. And in the face of uncertainties, when you took over as a president. Over to you, Shan. Share with us.
Thank you, Anjali. And I had, you know, I still remember Krishna one day called me and he said, Shan, I want to tell you what's happening. This is a real situation. And he said, we need to bring this forward. And you see, the thing is, what Krishna did was to create that clear purpose. Are we in? Because without that meaningful purpose, you know, we can't work as a family to move forward. So now I had this conversation with, and one thing that, as Krishna mentioned earlier, he was connecting with the past presidents. And he was bringing back that history back to us and relating to us. Look, this was the journey that each president, this is what they did. So people like me who joined, you know, later who did not, only past president I worked with whom I invited from my conference was Bob. But other than Krishna was continuously having these conversations with the president, and then bringing us the story of the past and how those presidents worked and moving forward. And yes, it was we were struggling at that time, but again, you know, that possibilities, the mindset of possibilities, I think we can achieve anything that, if, you know, and furthermore, this is a volunteer organization. And like we always say, the intention, what is our intention? And that was set clear. And when I took over, you know, there was no, I don't think there was a change. There was a change in direction. We were following and we were looking at things that, you know, the past presidents have done, like especially for me was Krishna and then Pepe Del Rio. What they started having conversation, we just have to follow through and making things happen. And of course, with the different BOC members and the great ideas they bring into BOG and also at the Exco, those meaningful conversations was amazing. And yes, COVID happened. So what do we do? And, thank God because of the IAC, I learned Zoom before COVID. I learned Zoom and we said, now, this is a time that we need to have more conversation. We need to connect with members on the ground, the chapters, the schools. And that's how I think that we created a lot of activities. We relaunched The Voice, bringing in articles from all parts of the world, and the coaching trials that happened. Basically, the intention was to continuously have conversation and also sending the message, hey, you are not alone. A lot of people were going through a lot of grief as well. People have lost loved ones. And we kept the and I think in the board of governors meeting, what we heard was the demand for IAC chapters to have those conversations. The demand for coaching was increasing, and those meaningful conversations. And I think that was the intent. During this period, let's have more conversation. Let's connect with with each other, and saying that, hey, look, whatever happens, wherever, whichever part of the world, we are one family. And let's get through this together. And each IAC chapters were working with the communities where they were. And that was beautiful. So that's from me, Anjali.
Absolutely, Shan. And I do remember each of those conversations. That's something, and I think very well said. A lot of them is when we go back to the drawing board, look at what do we scale up, what seemed to have been working, what do we scale up, where do we engage more, and what are some new things that we can bring in. And I do also remember that the School Accreditation Council, led by Gonzalo, Ritu, David, all of that, came under your presidency, which was a new thinking. And the conversation started during Pepe's time. So I think there is a continuing story which is so beautiful and evolving. At this point, I do want to take a couple of minutes to share the snapshot of the present. And you will see how these are all connected with what has emerged and some of the newer pieces that might have evolved based on feedback that has come in from our members, from our chapters. I'm just going to share slides so that there is a visual connect. Yeah, just give me a moment. The slide on the right is the current Board of Governors and the Executive Committee. This is more an emotion. This is the part of a team that, this is the team that I'm a part of. And there is so many beautiful memories, conversations, and as Shan said, meaningful conversations. Our focus over the last 2 years, and this is just bringing the story to the present time, continues to be 3 pillars. And you would have seen threads of this emerge in the, with each of the panelists who spoke. Global visibility and thought leadership. And the idea here was largely to nurture global collaborations and partnerships, which I know even during Krishna's time, there has been a reach out to organizations, and there has been a strong visibility. We started looking at very specific areas, and I'm just picking up 2 that has been, fairly closer collaborations, because these are new and emerging conversations that are shaping the world of coaching. And our vision was to bring in as many spaces for our members to have these conversations across on areas that are new and evolving. JGSG and CCA are 2 of these global bodies that we are collaborating with. These are both focused on climate action, SDG 13. JGSG is in fact a group of around 11 coach certification and mentoring bodies across the globe with an intent to serve coaches and the profession of coaching. We've been having dialogues. IAC was delighted to host the first roundtable last year. We had Peter Hawkins, Eve Turner join in. We are also continue to focus on the regional forums, because that's where the engagement and visibility, each one of us is an IAC brand ambassador. And I think that's where these conversations move. The second focus area has been member experience. And this is truly aligned to our mission. Our mission to build a robust, highly accountable professional development model. So while we continue to embrace technologies as and when it's emerging, a couple of areas that we focused on has been deepening and widening, engaging the mastery, the values and the ethics. When I say deepening, some of these, Shan talked about the triad. A lot of groundwork for the triad happened during the COVID era. And we were lucky to launch it in last year, 2022, in English. This year, the membership committee has done such tremendous job in, bringing together in 3 different languages. And this is all based on member experience, people coming back, reaching out to us saying, this is how the triads has really made a significant impact in their professional journeys. So we have it in 3 languages, and this is our way of providing space for our coaches to engage the coaching masteries. The second area are, based on feedback on thematic groups. I think it started emerging from our conversations with our chapters. And the idea was to focus on, a larger, meaningful purpose. Today, these UN Sustainable Development Goals are a significant blueprint to craft the future. And this is for everyone, for us as individuals, for professional coaches, or for professions, policymakers, civil society, academia, or just each one of us as global citizens. Because in the heart of the UN Sustainable Development Goals is about cultivating an inclusive and sustainable mindset, which requires bold action, innovation, and human-centered decision-making. And these are skills that coaches bring. So truly, if you look at it, the thematic groups that are emerging across, this gave birth to the sustainability team that is focusing the efforts. Our idea was to nurture conversations. Like I said, 2 reasons. One, the world needs these skills. Coaches have these skills. So the idea was to, provide the space for experimentation, collaboration globally on areas that is meaningful to them to serve the future. We have coaches in DEI space, wellness. We were thrilled to launch the Coaching in Education initiative, which we have close to around 8 schools globally. This is a space for experimentation and innovation. And the idea is widening the scope of this coaching mastery. And the second reason for this is to look at more evidence-based approach on engaging the coaching masteries across domains. And this is not just for our members, but also for contributing to the evolving research in these areas. So, the capability building efforts continue, and this has been a focus across each of the boards. We ended up, pausing a while, reflecting on our values, on our bylaws, and revised. The last Vadis was focused on the story of revising the values to support the future, and all the ongoing efforts which was started during different tenures by the different board members continues to this phase. This is just a picture of today. And the idea is, I would like to now pivot this conversation to the future. As we stand here today, and if we were to look at the future through the lens of hope, bold aspiration for the profession of coaching, there is a lot that's emerging, be it the geopolitics or be it some of the mega trends that we are observing around, preserving the ecology, technology changes, people connected yet disconnected, polarities that we are noticing. But we are also noticing a lot of hope, innovations in the areas of climate technologies, in the area of, building larger connections between people. Given all these trends, would like to hear some thoughts from our panelists around, if you were to view the future of coaching through the lens of hope, what emerges for you? What is that picture that you see? Do share with us. Inviting you, Barbara, first to share some thoughts.
We live in a world of that's fraught right now, fraught with geopolitics, fraught with very, very fast moving technology and a lot of competition to move that forward. What I hold in my heart in terms of hope is that coaching is a very honorable profession. And what it does is it embraces the capacity for one human being to reach out to another human being for caring, for support, for camaraderie, for guidance. And that needs to be done with always compassion, always an appreciation for the humanity of the people that we work with, that we need not get lost in the complex world that we live in when we be in a moment in the presence of a client, that we hold them in our hearts with love, that we hold them in our hearts with a sense of responsibility, and that we help them contribute their best selves to the world. And with that sense of caring and compassion and love, that we will move humanity forward. And that's the hope of coaching for me.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, I think, that sets the tone for a lot more for us to dream, innovate, and engage ourselves in. Krishna, you've been also involved with a lot of leadership coaching. And, just to add to what Barbara said, what thoughts emerge for you as you hear Barbara? And if you could take the story ahead with a little more focus on what you're observing around leadership coaching.
I'd like to pick up from where Barbara, the thoughts that she shared. And there are some key words, which is that humanity. And I think the IAC has taken some brilliant steps as far as the planet is concerned, to climate change. And I think that's the question is relevance. And I think you've been doing some very relevant steps there. The question now comes as to the direction we see going forward. What does the future hold? And in fact, one of the bylines during my time as president, I remember I had to write these things for the Voice. And one of the lines I said was that hope anchors human potential. I still remember that. And if I used to think, did I say the right thing? Does it sound a little, esoteric? But the more I think about it, it's actually true, because what is coaching all about? And it's all about potential. I mean, ultimately, we are trying to take people to be at their best, whether it's in leadership, whether it's just doing what they want to do, going to where they want to be. It's all about the word is really mobility. It's being mobile in the mind and in the direction they want to take. And hope anchors that. So if you really want to reach your full potential, you need to be rooted in hope. The other part of it is, I'm very fond of saying this, Anjali. I mean, that normally organizations have life cycles of around 7 years. So now we are in the beginning of the third era. So like we perhaps the three of us whom you've invited have been part of the first 2 eras. And there is going to be a transition, and it's going to be quite a big one. When Barbara touched on the fact that there is there are a lot of conflict points on the board here. And I don't think it's going to come down. If anything, it's going to probably be more because the way the world is being fragmented. At one time, we want to join it, but there's also a split. So what can the IAC do to begin the third of our reinventions? Using hope, using potential as the core of that. What path do we take? Can it be linear or should it be more? I think what we really need to do is something that's a quantum leap. In addition to all the greats, I mean, I was so impressed by your slide. In addition to all of that, I mean, the very powerful Borg that is now here, I think the area that needs to be explored is what next in a big quantum leap. So I use a random number and it's not scary, but what could I do to influence as IAC a million people? Not 100, not 1,000, not, that's not enough. We got to think big. Thomas Leonard, if I know a little bit about him from Barbara and others, he would have used these numbers. So what should you do as Borg, as IAC, as every member here to reach out within the shortest possible time and instill the hope, the potential in a million people? Now, rather than get into the mechanics, that's the kind of vision that the third avatar, the third cycle the IAC needs to enter. This is the thought I will leave with you rather than get into the details, but that's really what, I mean, if I could have the magic wand, that's where I would wave it.
Brilliant, Krishna. So, let's just take that a little ahead. That quantum leap, when we look at it from a coaching profession, what are some bold predictions that come to your mind around coaching as a profession? 2030, 2050, your timeline.
Are you asking me or Shan?
Yes, yeah, Krishna, you.
Okay.
I'm just picking up from where you shared, and I'm thrilled to hear that. So, yeah.
No, I thought I'd pass the bait and I was going to sit back and say, Shan, over to you. I will say that, I'm part of a group which is in the Institute of Coaching. For many years, I've been part of that at Harvard Medical School, and we've been working on leadership coaching. So there's a whole bunch of people doing research there. But rather than get into that, I just like to pick out a few things. One of the areas that really resonates deeply for coaches is the word transformation. Not transformation, transformation, okay? The deeper transformation that we all have to enter into. And I think it begins with us. When you go to a coach, somewhere you're seeking that, you want to change yourself. If I go out to Barbara and say, Barbara, I have this hunger, I want to change something, I'm not quite sure what I should do. That's when I reach out to people who are, great coaches, master coaches in the world, and I say, help me here because I have this hunger within me. This is really what we need to do. And we in the IAC should work towards that, offer people that opportunity. And that's when I said a million people will come because everybody wants at some stage to be better. Now, what is better? That's up to them, but they want to be better. They want to move to that place that is nicer. And what that is, it changes from person to person. And when it begins with us internally, it's also an extension to the organizations we are part of, to the communities we belong to the institutions that we support or are employed by, or whichever form we are integral to that. And that's really what I see us. Like I said, I wouldn't get into how to do things, but it's really the why and the what that I wanted to share.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is the evolving story. And for all those who would be, joining in, tomorrow we are taking this story ahead with the future of coaching, with a fantastic panel of panelists, a team of panelists, and also deep diving into reimagining leadership coaching in the next few days. So these are evolving stories. And I think there's a collective wisdom that we plan to tap into. So that brings me to you, Shan. I've often called you the disruptor and many have, because you've brought in coaching into completely different new greenfield operations, as you might call, and truly impacted society. So with your experience, if I were to ask you the same question, looking through the lens of hope, where do you see coaching shape the future?
When I started, I think it was at the IAC conference in Sri Lanka, then Krishna was the president, where my heart was to train visually impaired coaches. And also we train the hearing impaired, the deaf society, using sign language coaching. And I said then, no, look, this is beyond just coaching. What I learned from, and the masteries, Barbara. I am now experimenting the masteries, using the IAC masteries as the way of being for a leader. I'm using the IAC masteries as the way of being as a process facilitator. And I'm now doing studies with 2 different groups. What is a facilitative team coach? So where we integrate process facilitation and the principles of coaching, and the masteries just beautifully connects them. And I also see the future where I see there is the gap, this is my opinion, the gap between human to human connection is getting wider and wider. And I'm saying that, look, we should be embracing my tagline, right? Let's embrace high tech, but focus on high touch. So here I see the future with AI integrated platforms coming up, AI coaching coming up, technology, all this coming up. But I still believe that we need to have this coaching and the way of being, just not doing things according to competencies or models. I always say certain model, I just throw away the models, the way of being, the masteries. That's the beautiful part. So what I see, and one of the persons that I had connection is Dr. Michael Kavanagh from Sydney University. Yeah. And he said, the quality of conversation, I'm going to read it, the quality of conversation determines the quality of relationship. And the quality of relationship determines the quality of organizational system. So then the question is the how. For me now, coaching conversation creates meaningful conversation and the way of being, and that supports servant leadership, transformational leadership. And a lot of people forget, not the how. A lot of us know the what. But even there was a research on by the Behavioral Relationship Management Institute, when they talk about beyond Industrial Revolution 5.0, the organization is all about networking and it's all about relationship. And I think coaching can help. And we need to democratize coaching, meaning don't just see coaching as just coaching. It can be everywhere. We have done, and I'm sure, Angela, you know that, we have done with parents. We have coaching in education. We are doing a lot of studies in coaching and education. We have done that with the differently able community. Next year, my heart is now stirred for wheelchair coaches. Where we're giving them opportunity to use coaching. And this is where I feel that the future of coaching is, I think we need to rethink the way we use coaching. Don't be, just say that coaching is all about asking the right question and listening. No. If you look at the masteries, it's beyond all this. It's the way of being. And you know what? In any culture, and that's where I borrowed the Arabic words to write my second book, and it's based on the masteries. And I said that, by amal, by practicing, amal is an Arabic word, to practice. When you practice the masteries, the first A, you actually have got an influence on your character, your akhlaq. And the character has got an influence on your mannerism. And your mannerism has got an influence on your culture. And your culture has got a big influence on akrab, which is deep friendship. And I think the IAC as the BOC and the ESCO. And I think where we are now, what we have been doing is that the friendship is the one that we have among ourselves, is the one that's moving. I mean, it's a volunteer organization. Everyone has got their own business. And, I don't know how Krishna found the time connecting with all the people in the world with all his businesses going on. But, but the friendship and the meaningful conversation there, that actually drives all this. And the future of coaching, and I think, creating coaching culture in organization that is picking up right now as we are speaking. Yeah. We want coaching is being used in, anyway, I'm talking about this part of the world as well, is continuously increasing. And we are saying that, you want to do things like engagement survey and why are people not talking to each other? Well, try having a coaching culture. And of course, I think the IAC should be doing more research, and should be doing more studies in the different places, because let's see, if the context in that particular geographical area changes anything. But I feel, no, the Masteries is here to stay. Thanks, Barbara.
I think that's collective thanks and gratefulness for, and yes, this more evidence-based, database. And very rightly said, the heart of it is these relationships, be it amongst us, be it we as a coach, and our relationship with coaching. I was hoping we do get time, and I think fortunate to have, but just want to pause before I invite each of the board members. Want to check with the panelists if there's anything they wish to share before I invite each one of our board members who are here today to add to this collective wisdom. Krishna, Barbara, anything based on what has emerged in terms of the conversation till now?
They should take.
I just want to say how enthused I am as I listen to what's being said, and that it excites me. Again, I think that coaching is one of the most important professions, and it really is about relationships. It's about building relationship with oneself and building relationships with those around us, and listening to each of you share your vision of hope, your vision for the future. I'm excited, and it gives me hope. That gives me hope.
Sean demonstrates. Anjali.
Go ahead, Krishna.
No, I was just going to say, I listened to Sean and there's already passion bubbling up.
Yes.
Everybody. And I mean, I'm reminded of the time we all got together in 2013 in Bangalore, and all he had to do was step on stage and there was so much energy. But that particular event, as some of you on this call were there, not that long ago, exactly 10 years back, a little more than that. I still remember John Whitmore repeatedly telling me, whenever he cornered me somewhere, he would say, Krishna, remember, coaching is more than coaching. And that was a very cryptic kind of line at that point in time. Why would someone say coaching? That to someone like John Whitmore repeatedly telling me this. I was lucky to, since I had invited him, I got to spend a lot more time. But it took me a long time, perhaps, to figure that out. To figure out what maybe he meant. Because I wouldn't know, because he never expanded on it. But so we interpret. And I think much of what you were speaking, Sean, that line was there, that don't just look at it as something you do. And for a long time, the world at large, these organizations that go around telling people get certified and become a coach and tick these boxes and go through these recordings and tests and all the rest, they just bring it down to something you do. And then you achieve something at the end of it, some boxes get ticked, and then, but what it really is it's deeply transforming. It becomes a way of life. You stop asking questions. You, in fact, get people to reflect. It's not to, sort out something for you. It's really to help somebody else. And simple things like that. After a while, I still remember wandering a corridor one day and ran into someone. And he said, "You won't remember me, but I'll never forget you." And I said, "Why? Did I do something, weird that you have this?" And he said, "You asked me a question for which I still haven't got an answer." I had no idea what I asked. Even today, I have no clue what I asked him, but somewhere it comes instinctively and it remains. And I'm sure all of you coaches on this call, you would have had very similar experiences. So what we have to do is, when we take this forward, is as you heard from us, is to instill that culture, instill that way of being in I'm going back to my favorite number, in a million people. And how we do that, we'll come to that later. But yes, that's really what it becomes part of you. Shan's favorite line among many favorite lines, "A coach in every home." Shan, you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like that, a coach everywhere.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Barbara and Krishna. And for me, I just want to request that, that if we, as parents, as leaders in the family and community, if we can embrace this, a great family creates a great community. A great community creates a great nation, relationship, and love. And that can change the way we want to live this world to the next generation. And I believe that as an individual, we can't do much, but collectively we can do wonders. And I think that's what the IAC is for. IAC is a platform for us to contribute in every which way. We can't change the world individually, but we can do something for someone within our circle of influence. And I would really love to, request all our members who are listening here and who is going to listen to the recording. Look, the IAC is run by a group of volunteers. And I respect each individual, every volunteer, and with all the challenges, languages, translating Spanish email to English email and then to the Chinese. But what keeps that going? And we all can, as a member of the IAC, and even if you're non-member of the IAC, please do join the IAC. But anyway, all of us, we can make a difference in our own circle of influence. And if you're a non-member, please reach out to the chapters, because the IAC chapters globally will welcome you. Even if you're not the global member, they will welcome you, because that's what we want to share. Thank you, Anjali.
Thank you, Shan. And, truly the element of the IAC brand ambassador, is from your heart, Shan. Thank you. We have 10 minutes, and I was really hoping we do get that. These are golden moments. We have our current BOG team here with us. And I'd like to invite Gigi to support so that we can pin the current board of governors, Gillian, who's the president-elect. And we have Ingrid, who heads the Global Membership Committee and has some fantastic news for you on day 5. We have Catherine, who has truly brought back so much of history. She's a member of the Executive Council Committee and has done some intensive work on the origin of masteries. And all of this is wisdom and knowledge that will be shared with our members in time to come, along with the certification committee. We have Gonzalo heading the School Accreditation Council, who has been, driving the entire shift and the transformation from the licensing committee to where we are today. Ritu also joining in with the same, one of the newer members in the block, and I think will add incredible experience over the years to come. David joins us. I hope you're on the screen. I saw Carla, and I must share, she's just had a baby, so the board member has a new baby now. And so wonderful to have you join in, even if it's on audio, Carla. We have Brian joining in, who is steering the Sustainability Committee. Did I miss it? Martha, of course, who drives our, I know Martha, how could I? Who's our treasurer and our, the words of wisdom that makes us pause. Wonderful to see you, Carla. All love to you. I hope I've covered everyone and we are on the screen, and I leave this floor open to anyone from the BOG to add some insights and thoughts before we wrap up the session. Oh, we have Jessica as well. Yes, absolutely. From the certification committee, joining in from Vietnam. And we'll have some wonderful things to share again on day 5. Gillian, would you like to take the lead and then maybe move to Catherine, move to Martha, and take it on from there?
Gracias a todos y especialmente a Barbara.
Thank you,
Krishna,
everyone, particularly Barbara
Shan.
and Krishna and Sean.
Los escuchaba y
I was
primeramente
hearing
me
and
sentía
first
agradecido de
I
pertenecer
felt
a esta
thankful
organización.
Gillian,
of belonging to
Gillian,
this
1
organization.
second. I think you might need to shift your room. You might be in the English room.
Oh, sorry. Gracias.
So thank you. First of all, thank you, Barbara, Sean, and Krishna. I was hearing you and I felt enormously grateful of belonging to this organization. The IAC history is tremendously valuable, and at the same time, I was thinking on the people that developed me as a coach, and I felt this particular appreciation for Miguel Roldan, Fernando Celes, who's on the room here, and for Pepe del Rio. And in a way, they transmitted to us that love that we feel for IAC, and for this, that means being a volunteer. And I know that many in this room do the same thing to date. So thank you to you, Barbara, Krishna, and Sean, and all of us that joined us through the different stages of IAC, because together, because of that energy, that work, and that commitment that you put in today, we have a reality that can continue to be better and growing. And for everyone in the room and will be later on watching this, thank you for being part of.
Thanks, Gillian. Who knows goes next? And please pass on the baton to the next that you wish to invite.
Pues yo me gustaría.
Go ahead, Catherine. Go ahead, Catherine.
Catherine, go ahead.
You're on mute, Catherine.
Great, thank you. There's so many wonderful ideas and reflections and appreciations that have come across today that span the whole history of the IAC, and what keeps coming out is the solid quality and gift of the coaching masteries as we embrace them, as we embody them in ourselves and share them through our work with others. And one of the things about what I'm seeing, or what I envision for the future, while there are many ways of coaching, and coaching is growing exponentially through the studies are saying, we have IT coming in now, or our AI, coming in. But I sort of think of the values that have been identified today comes back to, yes, there are many ways to do coaching, but in our humanity, in our world today, our common humanity, we need the personal touch. And the coaching masteries excel at giving us the tools to do that. And so, I think of banking, which was my background, when it went into automatic tellers, we still need the personal tellers that we go to speak with. And I'm also thinking of the advances in neuroscience, which I think is going to be the language that helps people understand more what coaching has to offer for us individually and collectively. Neuroscience has been able to translate what's really happening when people practice mindfulness and meditation into a language that more people get. And now neuroscience is being used to explain the same thing about coaching, especially with things like our mastery with being present. There are some really unique elements of coaching in the coaching masteries that are so pertinent to our being human and understanding ourselves and helping us become our better selves. And neuroscience is explaining now why those masteries, well, as we can translate coaching, they're addressing in general, but we can look at them specifically through the lens of the coaching masteries. What's really happening in our body, in our mind, in our emotions, in our spirit. So I find that really exciting because I think that is also how we are going to reach more people as to become certified coaches, and also to start to seek out, especially individuals, to seek out coaching to help them be able to develop and understand more about themselves.
Thanks, Catherine. We have about 4 to 5 minutes, so, inviting the board members to add your thoughts in a series. Go ahead, Martha.
Okay. I echo everyone's thoughts and excitement and passion. What I want to add to the circle right now is that the future is today. Now, Carla knows that. I have had 2 new grandbabies. I know that. And to go forward with hope, I think, is imperative. And if anything else creeps in, denial or disillusion or disappointment or despair, to have a way to say, yeah, okay, and yes, and this is how I want to live my life. This is how I want to stand. This is how I'm going to do what I can to create a future for these babies coming on. Chan's way of saying we be a coach. We don't do coaching, we be a coach. I would like to invite you to think about coaching yourselves with the masteries, or having someone else coach you with the masteries to help you become that culture within yourself. It's not something we go out and do to other people, in my opinion, successfully, without coming to that relationship as an equal, someone who is looking for that balance. That's what I would love for us to do, to be coaches, and then trust that that's what will emerge from that effort.
Thanks, Martha. Around 2 to 3 minutes requesting. Yeah, Jessica, short and sweet as we capture this and we take it ahead in the next sessions. Go ahead, Jessica.
I just want to echo Martha about self-coaching, because when I joined IAC and then through the journey become a board member, for me, the biggest trigger of changing my mindset is we are not just a certification body to certify a coaching skill. No, we are more than that, because we are certified the skill that can help others. But through helping others, we have to help ourselves first. We will have to go through this, how to communicate, how to be in the present, how to listen, how to clarify, aware. And all of that is self-coaching first. So the coaching skill is actually helping us to improve, to become a better person. And now, even our IAC, we are actually trying to facilitate or try to could input or contribute to the climate change, to the education, not just business management leadership. So I see our future, it's very bright with our intention. So that's the sweet two-section.
Thanks, Jessica. We have a minute more. Anyone else from the board wishes to share an insight before we wrap up? Brian, any closing thoughts?
Thank you, Anjali. I put mine in the chat box. Just a
You
huge
did.
thank you, huge thank you to all of you and to you, Anjali. I mean, you are added to the amazing story of IAC, and you have re-energized this organization. So thank you all, and I just have great hope. I think that's the word that we can take away from the session is we all have hope.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Right on time, and I'm sure there are a lot more missing thoughts and insights which we hope to add on in the coming sessions. Gonzalo, your thoughts, I would love to hear more about it in the next couple of days. I think one of the most significant, powerful sessions coming up on Inner Peace and Century. But I'd like to first take this opportunity now to thank our panelists. Truly resonate with every word that Brian's written here as well on behalf of Board of Governors, to step in, take that time out today to be with us. Barbara, Krishna, Shan, thank you so much for being here, and so wonderful to have you have this conversation with us. Well, we have a group.
Thank you for your wonderful moderation today. Thank you for your lovely presence.
Thank you so much. We do have a picture that we'd love to take. It's an IAC tradition. I hope we are all in here for a moment, inviting you to just open up the cameras and smile so that we capture this moment in the history of IAC. Are we done? Gigi, do give us a heads up.
Hold on.
We are continuing
Hold
to
on.
smile as long as you stay.
It's me doing the pictures, but there's 3 panels, so I need to get everyone. Yeah, so now I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the sessions. We look forward to see you all tomorrow for the future of coaching.
Thank you, Anjali. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Anjali. Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
The International Association of Coaching. Home of the coaching masteries.